have a special guest with me today.
Hi.
You need to go that way, because it's up here. You're not going to introduce yourself?
No.
You're just going to be known as...
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey guys, Squdge here. Welcome back to another video. I have a special guest with me today.
Hi, it's Fluffy Duck.
As Fluffy Duck is exciting. So we're going to be doing some UV resin stuffs, and Fluffy has picked this super cute bezel. So that is what we're going to be doing today, and then at the end we'll show you what we've made all together. I hope you enjoy. Okay, so because we are using UV resin, what had happened was I talked Fluffy Duck through everything that was needed to be done. I then left the room. Fluffy Duck is wearing the goggles, the respirator and the gloves, as you can see. So first layer, we just put a very thin clear layer along the bottom, just to secure the back basically, so that the back would be a solid clear layer. And then Fluffy Duck decided for the sky they wanted to use blue beads. Now they don't have a glove on for this section because they are literally picking up a bead and dropping it from above. They're not having any interaction with that resin. The only reason that this happened was because they sneakily did it while I was out of the room. Ordinarily I would say you should still wear gloves even for doing this. You don't want to risk getting resin, epoxy or UV on your skin. But I do quite like the idea of putting these beads in and having them as the sky. I think that's a really cool idea that I wouldn't really have thought of doing. And so I quite liked the texture it gave as well. I think that was a really cute idea. So basically Fluffy Duck filled in all the gaps where there was sky with these beads, as well as possible. Obviously there are some very small gaps where these beads won't fit, but they filled as much as possible as they could with the beads into that clear layer before we cured it. And then Fluffy cured that layer so that those beads were then contained within that bottom layer of clear resin, and that just allowed them to be secured. So once we have cured it for about a minute, 2 minutes using this UV lamp, we can move on. You don't need to give it a full 5-minute cure at this point, just a quick cure. So the next step was to use a light blue resin, again UV resin, and just fill in the gaps where those beads didn't reach. This is quite an intricate bezel, and there are sections where those beads are just too big to fill. So what Fluffy did was they went through, and any gaps where there were around the beads but still in that sky section were filled in with this very light blue resin, just a very thin layer just to colour it so that we've got a solid colour for that sky behind the texture. And this is just a very, very light blue, but it does really add to the finished piece. Once that was done, we again cured it, and then it was time to move on to some of the other details. It's really nice actually watching this back, seeing how well and how sensibly Fluffy Duck was working with the resin, because obviously as I wasn't in the room there were a number of nerves, I'm not going to lie. Right, once that layer had been cured, it was time to do the pale pink for the flowers. Now the blue was translucent because we wanted a sky-like effect. The pink is an opaque colour, so it's an opaque pink pigment, again mixed with the UV resin, and then again once this layer is complete it is cured under the UV light. Now because this is an opaque colour, A, you will need to cure it for longer, B, you will also need to turn it over and cure the back. Now I do that anyway whenever I do a bezel. Once I've cured it from the front, I'll turn it over and cure the back. But you need to be especially careful if you're using opaque colours with UV resin. It's better if you can to put a thin layer, cure it, thin layer, cure it, thin layer, cure it. I didn't realise quite how opaque this was, so I hadn't suggested that to Fluffy Duck, but it's absolutely fine. What we did was, once the front had been cured, we just flipped over that tape to cure the back to make sure that the opaque was cured all the way through the bezel. Thankfully bezels aren't that thick, so you can get away with doing it this way round. The important thing that you need to be aware of is to make sure that you are curing it, because what you don't want to do is pick it up from the tape and then have just a very thin layer on the front and all the back resin fall away. Partly because it's dangerous, you could get resin everywhere, it's also a waste of money. Right, once that was done, it was time to fill in some white details. Again, this is an opaque white, so it's the same process, making sure that when you've added in the details, you've cured it from the front and the back to ensure it is fully cured. What you could do, because these are such small details, is, as I suggested to Fluffy for future times when they want to come and do resin, is to do a small bit and then using a little UV torch, just flash cure it, just so that it's a little bit more stable and not completely liquid when we do turn it over. But these turned out perfectly, so evidently we had cured it enough. Once the white was cured, it was time to add the red, and this is another translucent colour, so we had a little bit of leeway with curing it with the UV lamp. So this was used to fill in the fan sections around the flowers, and I just think this has come together so beautifully, and I can't explain how proud I am of Fluffy Duck, because Fluffy Duck this is the second or third time Fluffy Duck has been round to play with the resin, and I can definitely see a difference between the first time and now in terms of maturity levels and how sensible they're being with the PPE and the resin itself. Obviously I was sat outside, but we've got glass panels in our door, so I was able to peek in and keep an eye on what they were doing, and yeah, it was all very sensible, very focused. So yeah, not only am I proud of the finished pieces, but I'm actually quite proud of Fluffy Duck and how well they did throughout this. Okie dokie, and we finished this one. Do you want to tell him what you've done?
So with the sky, I put different types of beads to make it look different, and made sure that it was like a light pink for the Sakura flowers.
Nice. Let me lift this up so you can see a little bit more detail. Okay, and you also made a couple of others. Do you want to tell them about these?
Yep. I made a rainbow, and I put like rainbow beads at the bottom to make it have like a colourful look to the cloud instead of it just being like a plain rainbow.
I like that one. I wouldn't have even thought of doing that. It's great.
With this, it's like my favourite colours, which is red and black, and I put stars in it to make it look more unique and stand out.
Love it.
And with the purple and black one, it has like a more Halloweenian fun theme. So
Love them. Which is your favourite one?
probably these two.
Okay. If you have to choose just one, I'm going to be really mean now.
This one.
That one.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I think the rainbow is my favourite one. I just love the rainbow cloud. I think that's brilliant. Cool. Right. It was lovely to have you. I had so much fun with you being here. This is great. We should do this again soon. If you want to see more of Fluffy Duck's hands, then let me know down in the comments. If you have enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up and consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Keep crafting. Bye!